Audi. Not that many.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll just go ahead with it then. We're waiting for somebody, or you want to do it now?
No, I think we're here already. Yeah.
I already went a little with the car rental guys down this journey.
Yeah,
So there'll be a little repetition for you, but we'll go through that. How many of you know Simon Sinek? No? Because I actually have a video in here I want to show you, but I don't. Hopefully we have sound so we can see the video. It's a quarter of an hour video, but it's part of what I'm going to talk about. Simon actually came with his world a little later than I did. So this is building on a framework that I built in 2009, 2010 together with a Belgian guy called Gerard Wolf. And it's about the fact of looking at branding and understanding what branding is today, despite what it was before. So let's try and go down the journey. You can ask all the questions you want. There's nothing you can't ask. And we'll try and see during the process, we might play a little with your brands and see what does it actually mean, like we did with car rental. Right? Okay, still called car rental. Yes? So, oh, sorry. Go back. Here, there we go. Can we kill the light now? Can I? Can we kill? You can see the screen. A little better. Okay. Cool. So, if you go to business school, this is what it says. Branding, the process involved in creating a unique name and image for a product in a consumer's mind, mainly through advertising campaigns with a consistent theme. Branding aims to establish a significant and differentiated presence in the market that attracts and retains loyal customers. This is the school example of the definition of branding. So you're creating a brand because you don't want to be like all the others. I used to live in the former Soviet Union, and in Soviet Union you could not get a branded sausage, you could get a sausage. Like they didn't have a brand. Right? So there was either a good sausage or a bad sausage. But what we found out early on, this is actually, if you go back in time, this is from, especially from the 50s and 60s, this has been very fast. You had the situation that people found out, how can I be different? I'm selling essentially the same product to the same people, but I want to have a higher price, or I want to display that people should admire working for my company, or what it might be. Now branding today has changed a little, and before we go into this, I want to just take one little example to put in your mind. Okay, you probably know the example already, so don't worry. You heard about the problem that Volkswagen were cheating on the emission, right? Yeah. So they have one of so they lowered when the computer was plugged into a test equipment, the computer would actually say, oh, it's a test environment, so I'm going to lower the numbers, I'm going to tweak the numbers. And they did that 2 years ago, and it was found out last year. And actually what happened was devastating. Of course it was devastating for Volkswagen, because they had to pay $30 billion back in fines in the US, because their stock price went totally ballistic through the roof. And this is actually something that was decided by an engineer who wanted to be smart, who said, let's do this. Let's just change this. It's not going to harm anybody. We're still the best cars in the world. Who will be harmed? It's not a problem. But for Volkswagen, it was a big problem. Now, you can say they'll come up again. But if you look at Seat, if you look at Skoda, if you look at Audi, these are all smart. These are not smart. Seat, Audi, and Skoda. These are all Volkswagen brands. They have all been hurt tremendously by the fact that their sister company was doing something wrong. Now, even worse, around the world, made in Germany, and I'm just testing you out now. If I was trying to sell you something from Germany, before Volkswagen, you guys would say trustworthy, good engineering, high price, these kind of things you would say. Now people are saying, I don't know. So from the fact that one person took a decision to tweak a number he didn't have to tweak, they were still the best cars in the world, but anyway he chose to do that, cost billions of dollars, and has actually ruined the brand reputation of a country. Okay, just putting it there. So, what I'm going to talk about is the essence of branding. The why you are called what you are. The why you are doing the things you are doing. Because what I believe in what in a fancy word is probably called holistic approach to branding. Because branding is not a logo, it's not a name, it's not a color, it's not a sense. It is actually a promise. You're promising something to your clients, to your prospects, that your product has these elements. So, what we talked about also in car rental is that the fact is, no matter whatever you guys do, and you're brilliant at what you do, you're the best in class, whatever you produce, somebody else can produce better, faster, cheaper. There is no holy grail. No matter whatever you come up with, there we're going to be somebody who say, ha, you know what? You can just look at smartphones, right? An iPhone still costs around $100 to produce. Xiaomi sell their phones at $100 and make significantly better margins than iPhone does, right? So somebody copied the model in a different way, but actually ended up producing a phone that was significantly cheaper. Okay? So the thing is, you need to build a soul around your brand. Because the soul is the one thing that nobody can take away from you. They can try and copy your logo, they can try and copy your colors, they can try and copy the things you want to do, but they cannot take away the soul. Because it's the soul of what you want to do, and it's an emotion, what do I want to tell, is what feeds everything you do in your brand. And what we're going to talk about a little is, how do you actually do that when you're an online company? How do you do that? These kind of things. We're going to talk about that down the line. Next thing is, very funny is, if you ask any CEO, this is a formal study made by Hartmann Business School, 85% of CEOs around the world perceive their brand as being superior. You know, they're saying, our brand is better than our competitors, our brand delivers a better brand promise than anybody, car rental is the best opportunity in Indonesia for anybody who wants to go from Bandung out on the countryside. There's nobody better than what we are. But the truth is that when we ask the consumers of the same brands, only 8% actually recognize the picture that the CEO has. So this is important because branding is not, it has to be anchored at top level, but it has definitely to be working always down through the company. We cannot have an old babak sitting in a room believing that he has the best product in the world if people on Facebook are saying, what a crappy product. Right? So still you have Malaysian Airlines CEO saying Malaysian Airlines is supplying superior service, the best airline experience in the world, but if you look on the social media, actually plane delayed, airline went in the wrong direction, you know, all these things is not giving you what you have. So before we're going to watch the video, let's talk about some of the elements that are in brand building. So we talked about earlier in the years, we talked about what is it I'm doing. And that's fairly easy to describe. It's actually metrics. I'm creating this product, right? If you want to book a car from Bandung when you land there and you want to borrow it with a driver for 3 hours, this is what we give you, this is the price, this is the what. This is all the things that are in the product that we can deliver. But very often people don't really buy what's. What's are elements that are important for us, you can say, but you don't go to Starbucks because they have a venti latte with whipped cream. You go to Starbucks because you want to go to Starbucks and you're going to find out what they have on the menu when you get there. Right? So that's how it is. So actually, if you look upon this, the thing is we have to figure out how we're going to get into the why. And if you look at the apple, the truth of the matter is that the why has to be the center of the universe of everything you do. So in a second I'm going to show you a video. It takes 15 minutes, so don't worry about it. It's a guy called Simon Sinek. He's a pretty clever guy. And he's just going to tell you 15 minutes about how to go from the what to the how. Because I thought I could tell you also, but he's doing it so brilliantly, so I'm going to let him do that. And after that, we're going to come back and talk about some examples. So, here comes. I think. sound? No sound?
Yeah, I think the sound is not working yet, but oh.
Ah. Hang on a moment. Go back on. We just need some power. Like. Yes? Let's try and see. Any sound? No sound?
Assume, or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet, they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered man flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered man flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate in the exact same way. And it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders, the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, they all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because I understand that everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers and the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspired. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe challenging the status quo. We believe thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer? All I did was reverse the order of the proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making some flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level? The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and figures, and you say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language, and the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't the other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your big brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will anybody how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, you know, this if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the dot-com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now, you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same three things. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same three things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian. He was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, we're right. They had none. of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their drink with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers team had a college education, not even one. And the New York Times followed them around. The difference was, Warhol and Boye were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich, and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually, on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. Further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing. The day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, "That's an amazing discovery, guys, and I will improve upon your technology." But he didn't. He wasn't first. He didn't get rich. He didn't get famous. So he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. And why is it important to attract those who believe what you believe? Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they just like, oh, it's about 10%. Proudly, we can ship over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Jeffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world, and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, stood in line for 6 hours, was because what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me give you a famous example, a famous failure and a famous success of the law of diffusion innovation. First, the famous failure. It's a commercial example. As we said before a second ago, the recipe for success is money and the right people and the right marketing conditions, right? You should have success then. Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single...
Presiden Joko Widodo dianugerahi bintang jasa tertinggi Republik Demokratik Timor Leste oleh Presiden Timor Leste Taur Matan Ruak. Penganugerahan bintang jasa itu dilakukan di Istana Kepresidenan atau Palacio Presidensial di Timor Leste.
Maybe the sounds.
Radio ini.
Is better? Want to try? Okay, one second. One second with that. Yes. Let's just go to the first part. Before I just go to the place where he was before.
Yeah.
Could you hear what he was saying? I hope you got a little of it, especially. TiVo. How many know what TiVo is? Because it's kind of like